we are doing something cool tonight. This is Stampin' Up's Day of Service. Um, it's better now? Yeah, I think because when I switched over to the one view, it's only receiving audio through the one source. So I think that's what the deal is. So yay, I'm glad everyone's saying it's better now. Awesome. So tonight we're going to be doing a little bit of creating, but there is a reason for it. This is what they call the Day of Service. Stampin' Up designates one day in the year to be their day of service, and this is it. So, the 16th of September. And this year they're focusing on heart health because that's an important issue in our community. And when I was getting ready for tonight, I looked up a couple of things. If you wanted to, it's very easy to find statistics out on heart health. If you go to the Heart Foundation, which is heartfoundation.org.au, there's lots and lots of stats and information there about how it affects. And for anyone who doesn't know, coronary heart disease, or otherwise known as CHD, is the leading cause of death in Australia. Okay, so more than COVID, more than cancer, more than traffic accidents, more than anything else, it's heart disease. And it does affect more men than it does women. But of course, that means it affects all of us because we all have men in our lives, right? But about roughly double, not quite, men than women. And it's basically occurs when a coronary artery clogs and narrows because of a buildup of plaque. Okay, so these, there are obviously, we are all aware, I think, that people can make lifestyle changes that are going to help with that. And some people are, have a history of it in their family, and the places like the Heart Foundation are hard at work trying to find ways to deal with it better and to prevent it. And I just think it is something that we can all focus on. We all know people that have been affected by heart disease. Everyone knows somebody. So there's lots and lots of things we can do. We can donate blood. There are so many ways that you can contribute to a cause like this. Knowing your blood type and letting all your people close to you know what your blood type is in case of an emergency. You can learn to do CPR. You can become in your first aid certificate. You can donate needed items to a local hospital. You can engage in heart healthy community activities. I'm not a big fan of fun run. I never really understood the fun bit of the run. I've never got that quite, but I know some people really like to do that. I'd rather go for a nice big walk, not really a runner. But there are people who certainly can, take part in different community activities, some of which, maybe they're getting people to sponsor them for some of these activities and things like that. So lots and lots of cool things. Sending cards to heart health. Let me start again, shall I? Sending cards to healthcare workers is something else you can do. Donating cards to hospitals, and goodness knows there's a few of us out there like myself who have plenty of cards sitting around that could be donated. We've donated in the past as a team to the Ronald McDonald House. We've done a bit of that. But there's so many charities that could use your cards. Donate them, and then they can sell them and raise some money, or they can use them in their healthcare centres and all sorts of things. There are so many different ways to make a difference. And if you go on to the heartfoundation.org.au, there's even a button that you can donate to the Heart Foundation as well. So there's lots and lots of things. This is a set called Strong of Heart. You'll find it in our latest mini catalogue. And $4.25 from the sale of every one of these stamp sets. If you wanted an excuse to buy a stamp set, not that most of us need an excuse, but if you do want an excuse, then this $4.25 from the sale of every one of these is going to go to heart charities. So that's a cool thing. It's another reason why I love being part of Stampin' Up, because I love that they're very community minded. I love that they focus on, being part of the community, which is pretty awesome. And I see a few people sharing. Thank you so much, because let's get the word out there. I know, it's great to be able to see the desk, isn't it, Brian? It's pretty cool. Yeah, and it's scary for females, like you say, is you can have silent cardiac issues without the normal symptoms. Yeah, no, exactly, Courtney. Ain't no fun in run. I agree. There's no F, right? I'm going to spotlight that. I love that. Look, see, I put it up on the screen. Oh, isn't that clever? I can put it up there. Ain't no fun in run. Love, love, love it. And Angie, that's not good. Heart issues from side effects from medication. There are so many reasons why people can end up with heart issues. Yeah, I love that Stampin' Up does it too. So this is just, I thought, a really fun way tonight to actually, for me to do something, which is to get the word out there, to raise a bit of awareness, and let's do some creating with this little set. So I'm going to start with that. So I have been playing around with the set. Some of you may have seen I've posted a few cards over the last couple of days that have this set in them. Your photo looks great. I'll take you down. I can't have you looking at yourself all day. So let's get rid of that. All right, so I'm going to start with a really simple little card. So if you are someone who hasn't done a lot of stamping, and you know, not really sure what's all that about, the thing I can tell you is really you don't need very much to get started. Now, a lot of us would claim to have probably way more things than we actually need, but to be honest, when you're starting out, you can just do it with stamps, ink, and paper, and it's just a lot of fun. I remember stamping with my mum when I was little. We had a big box of rubber stamps that were in trays. Some of you may have had these, and they had like all kinds of different stamps, and they were my favorite thing, and we're only allowed to bring them out on rainy days. So this really takes me back just thinking about it. I wonder what happened to those stamps. I'm guessing that my mum probably threw them out years ago when they were moving house or something like that. But you know, it would make me, I wish we had found them, but I have not seen them since I was a kid. So, but I've always had a love of stamping because of that. And that back in those days, that's all we did was just stamp on paper and just stamp for the sheer joy of making an impression on a piece of paper. So there is a bit of that still, but you can actually use them to make cards, which then can be sent to cheer somebody up or make someone's day, or as we just said, maybe donated to a heart charity or somewhere else that might be able to use them. Something else that we've been doing lately is we've been donating some cards to aged care facilities to brighten the days of people who are in there. And so many of those guys, they're stuck in there in lockdown. They're not able to get out and send a card or buy a card even. So by sending some cards into them that they can then write on and send out to people they love, that was something else we did recently. So there's so many different ways that you can use your cards and your hobby, your creations in things that are going to help in your community. So I love that. So I'm just starting with this is just going to be a really simple stamping and paper kind of a thing. So I'm going to fold this piece of paper. I've measured it, it's roughly 10 centimeters by 20 centimeters long. So when you fold it in half, you end up with a little square 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter card, roughly. Okay, it's actually 9.9, so I can get 3 out of a piece of cardstock, but close enough, it's 10. Let's call it that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple of these stamps out. Now, this is the way our stamps come, if you haven't seen them before. We have different types of stamps. We have some that are photopolymer, which are the clear ones that you can see through, and these are the rubber stamps. Even though a lot of people prefer the photopolymer or clear stamps, the acrylic stamps, personally, I have a real love of rubber stamps, partly because of that whole childhood thing I mentioned before, but also because I like the detail. There is so much detail that you can get with rubber stamps that you can't get as good, really, with the acrylic or photopolymer stamps. So let's have a little look. We've got a couple of different stamps here. We're using 3. This is 3 stamps that have been used on this card. So I've got one here, big heart, and then a line drawing heart, this one, and then I'm going to use this one here, this little saying which says stronger than you know, which is, I think, a really nice little thing. And you'll notice the backs of these are sticky, and when you put them on the blocks, they just stick on. So that's how easy it is to set up. Okay. If you're wondering about blocks, the blocks, you do need to purchase a block if you're using these kind of stamps. But once you've got them, you never need to purchase them again. You just buy it. It's a one-time thing. So that's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to start. I'm only using 2 colors, or I'm going to introduce another color a little later, but we're starting, the basic card is just 2 colors. So this is my Night of Navy ink, and I'm going in to ink that up. I'm going to always turn it over and have a look before you stamp, because sometimes you can get a bit of ink around here on the edge of your stamp, and then if you don't look out for that, then you can transfer that over to your paper, and you don't want to do that really. So I'm just going to stamp this pretty much right in the middle of the page. I'm slightly up because I want to leave a little bit more room down the bottom for my word, but kind of in the middle, just like that. And that's just the navy ink. Okay, and then I've got this more solid heart here. It's like it's been scribbled. I love this heart. I think it's really, really nice. And I'm going to use this with Balmy Blue ink, okay, which is a lighter blue. So I'm just going to ink that up. I find for a big stamp like this, you can either go onto the ink pad or you can turn it over and you can go the other way. I haven't looked at the comments for a while, so I hope no one said anything important. I've got to keep remembering to look up there. Right now, see, I picked up a little bit of ink around that edge again. So you either get that with your finger or you can keep a baby wipe or a tissue or something close by and grab those edges. All right. Now, when I did this one, I just stamped straight on. And you'll see it's lighter than the navy, but it's fairly dark still. So this time I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to do what they call stamping off, which is I stamp here on my scrap paper and then I stamp onto my card. And so it's a little bit lighter than the original. Can you see that? That one's a little bit darker. I actually think I like this better. That looks good. Just the right amount of ink. And of course, every time you stamp it on your scrap paper, it gets lighter and lighter each time. So that's kind of cool. And then I've got my words, which I'm just going to use in Night of Navy. And this says stronger than you know, which I think is nice for our theme tonight. And I'm just going to pop this over here to one side. I've got sort of flowers and things going on over here, so I could put this in the middle, but I'm going to add it to the right-hand side. Pardon me while I bring my head in. And the reason I'm doing that is so that it just makes the card look a little more balanced. So I've got some stuff going over here on the left, and now I've got this word a little bit more to the right. Okay, now I could call that a finished card. I mean, it's quite pretty just as it is. Okay, that's just stamps, ink, and paper. But, you know, I'm a crafter and I love to add extra. I'm a little bit extra. So let's do that. Oh, you're very welcome, Judy. This is just a bit of fun. I think it's nice to do these things. All right, I'm going to use, this is a blender pen. Okay, now a blender pen, these come, they don't have, you get 3 in a pack and you don't have to, they come like, they're empty. You add whatever color you want to add. So you can see I've actually used white ink for this before, so you can see it's already got white ink on it. But if I wanted to use it, I would grab my white ink pad and I would open that up. And I can either squeeze a bit of ink onto the lid, or I can just come in here right in the corner where ink tends to pool a little bit more, get some ink on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the top of the flowers because I want to stamp it. I want to put a bit of color in those flowers, but I don't want to have to compete with all that blue that's underneath. So I'm going to put a bit of white over the top to make it easier to add more color, because that'll make it just easier to go on top. And when you're doing this, you'll notice a fair bit of white will come off, but it's going to cover up some of that blue that's underneath there, so I'm not colouring over that. I'm a big fan of white ink. I think white ink is one of the most, well, if you're going to do a lot of crafting, white ink is one of the very first things I'd recommend that you get. I just love white ink. I use it for so many different techniques. I used it for that mist that I did. Some of you would have saw that a couple of days ago. I used it for the whitewashing technique. I use it to emboss with. I use it for colouring embossing folders. There's just so many things you can do with it. And it just, to me, it's just a standout product. It's a pigment ink, so it's not like our other inks. It's more, it's thicker. So, and you have to, when you get it, the ink pad actually comes uninked and you have to ink it up yourself, because I had a lot of trouble with ink, with the white ink leaking when it was being sent in transit. So instead now they send it uninked and you add your own. And this is actually, that's a refill there. And it's quite thick, like I said, and you sort of, when you add it on to your uninked pad, you have to massage it into the pad. So, but it's so worth it. So many things you can do with it. Ah, good. I'm glad it's a good tip. All right, so the other end of my, so I've just done the white end, that was this one here. And the other end, I'm going to use my navy ink. So I'm going to come back in here with my navy ink, And you can see I've already squeezed it, so I've got actually quite a bit here on the lid, and I'm picking up some navy ink from here. This is a different type of ink pad, so this is a water-based pad, and to get the ink up there, all I have to do is give it a really hard squeeze when it's closed, open it up, and you'll have some ink here on the lid you can use. Alternately, I could stick a block or something into here and get some ink out that way, but I quite like doing it this way. So because I've got white ink on here, you're going to see that the navy that I'm using is not as dark as the outline because it's mixing a bit with the white. And it's just a nice little way of using the color. You don't need to have any extra pens, or like you don't need to have markers or anything like that. You can just use it straight out of your ink pads with one of these little pens. And then when you finish with the pens, you just run it off on a piece of paper until it, as you do it, it starts to fade until all the color is gone, and then it's ready to use with a different color. Or, you know, they're really, they last for ages. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more darker down the bottom here. So I could add leaves, like make it, you know, paint leaves green or something like that, but I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to leave it just like that. And the only other thing I would probably want to do with this, once again, like I said, I'm a bit extra, is add some little, these are like little sequins, and the cool thing is they actually have adhesive on the back. So you haven't got to stick them on with anything, because that's all there for you. Just really easy to add them, and just adds a little bit of bling, and it's done. So just a really quick and simple card. You can see I've got two now. This one I use some little silver sequins from one of our sequin packs, which are these. These ones are not adhesive on the back, so you need to adhere them with something. I usually use a tiny bit of multi-purpose glue, which is a liquid glue with a little fine point, and you just stick a little bit of that down and stick your sequin on top. So there's different ways of adding these things, but I like the ones that have the adhesive back because there's no fussing around. So there we go. Okay, how's that for the very first one? The ink refill is, you had an old stamp pad. Look, I actually have in my drawer here right in front of me, I'm sitting at my desk, I have 3 white pads. And I tend to, like, someone asked me, am I worried about getting, when I did the mist technique the other day, am I worried about getting like the navy, I was using that Night of Navy ink, and was I worried about getting Night of Navy in my white pad? And you can maybe see there it's a little bit blue. If you do get a color in your pad, this is a little tip for you. You can then massage it in with a spoon and then add a bit more of your refill, and it will actually get rid of some of the other color. I mean, unless you know, used a refill in it or something and have heaps and heaps of ink that you really can't get rid of, then I'd probably just buy a new pad. But if you want this to last longer, just massage it in with a spoon to redistribute the ink evenly over the pad, and then you can add more white ink as necessary. So there we go. I just love, 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 love white ink. All right, so there we go. So what do people think? Do you like the light blue or do you like the darker blue? Which one looks better? I think I like the light, but I don't know what everyone else thinks. Hey there, Nadia. How are you going? Nice to see you. It's a nice, simple little set, and it's a great one if you just want to do some fairly simple stamping. Of course, we're not just going to do simple stamping tonight. You like the light? Yeah. And you like both, Kay? Yep. I personally think I like the light, but I think they both look okay. Anyway, there we go. So then I thought we'd do a little bit of embossing. Yeah, with the darker flowers, I agree, Katrina. Okay, and I'm going to do this little card. Some of you may have seen it on my Facebook page or on Instagram. I popped it up there this morning. And this one is also pretty simple. They're all simple cards, okay? But this one has some white embossing in the background on the navy, and then I've played around a little bit with the with my blends markers as well. So once again, hardly any pieces needed. Like the last piece was just a piece of cardstock. This time we've got a card base, which is half a sheet of A4. This is the basic white thick. I prefer basic white thick to use for my card bases. It just always works well. I'll pop that to one side. And then we have a piece of Night of Navy ink, cardstock, and I've also cut one of our scalloped contour dies. I love these scalloped rectangles. They're just so cool. They're really, really handy and really great actually. All right, so let me quickly clean this. I don't want this to be blue. I want it to be clear now. So let me clean it. Now I have already, don't know if I put any mist on, so I'll just quickly, I'm using my Stampin' Scrub to clean. Different people use different things to clean stamps. You can just use baby wipes if that's what you've got. I prefer to use something, baby wipes can, especially if they have any alcohol in them, they can be quite drying. But you don't have to have one of these. But this was actually, believe it or not, the Stampin' Scrub was the very first product I ever bought from Stampin' Up. Before I bought any stamps or anything, I bought the Stampin' Scrub first. And then the first stamps I had from Stampin' Up was in my demonstrator kit, which I got within a month of first finding Stampin' Up at my very first workshop. So there we go. A little bit of history for you. All right, so this time I'm going to use a different type of ink. This one I'm using Versamark. Now this is, like the white ink, another sticky ink. So it's not like our regular classic inks, which are all water-based, and they are not sticky. This one is sticky, and we need it to be sticky because we're going to use embossing powder and to do the background. So I don't know if you can see, maybe you can, that the hearts in the background are shiny. All right, they're shiny and hard, and that's because we've embossed them, heat embossed. So I'm going to use my Versamark ink. The only thing I find when I'm doing this is that it's when you put your Versamark down, it's hard to see on the page, and it's actually really easy to overstamp. Okay, so you either want to run your fingers around, or what you may do, and I think I had to do with this card originally, is actually grab a paintbrush, and if we had any bits that we've gone over and the powder sticks to them, we'll have to get rid of that. But that's okay. I'll show you that when we get to it. Let's see how many of those I need to do. I'm just going to run my finger down again. And so I can see, you might not be able to see it because it's actually difficult to see because, like I said, it's clear. I'm going to, and then we're going to, so I think most of you will have seen heat embossing before. Last time I did heat embossing on my business page, which was only, I think, about a week ago, one of my regular customers who's been shopping with me for ages, I'm not sure if she's here tonight, but she was watching and she'd never seen an embossing demonstration. And she was like, oh my gosh, that looks so good. And she's contacted me to see what she needs to get started with it. It is a lot of fun embossing. If you love that hard, shiny look, especially with the metallics. And I personally, my favorite is the white. Surprise, surprise. Like I said, I'm a big favorite of white. All right, so I've basically put a few hearts randomly on this background. And you're probably thinking, what is she doing? Because I can't see anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little container, and here I have some white embossing powder. They come in little tiny weeny tubs because you don't need very much. A little bit goes a long, long way with this stuff. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this on my page, and it's going to stick. Oh, look, see, there's a bit of overstamping. Told you. And I'm going to tap this off. And I'm just going to flick the back. I don't want there to be any extra powder. Like, there will still be a little bit, but whoops, need some more. So the good thing about using a little container is then you can pop it back in the tub and start over. So basically I'm pouring it over my background, and everywhere that I stamped with that sticky ink, the Versamark, the powder is going to stick to the image that I've made. And that's exactly what I want. I'm trying to not touch it where the embossing is. Embossing is, to me, a lot of fun. When you flick over the back to loosen any excess powder, you want to make sure you're holding onto it nice and tight. Otherwise, you end up flicking your whole cardstock piece somewhere. And yeah, I've done that many times. All right, so I've got my pieces, my hearts here, all they've got embossing powder sitting on top of them. Okay, now if I was to rub my finger over that, the powder would all just come off. So what we've got to do is heat set it. But before we do that, see how I've got this bit of powder. I don't want there to be any here. I'll do it over here because I might as well have it go back into the container. So who has never tried embossing? Is there anyone here who's never given it a try? Anyone? Move that out of the way. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. That's looking good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my heat tool. Now I notice no one's commented for a little while, and oh, Anita, you just commented. Great, because I was just wondering, have I gone offline or something because no one's commenting. That's okay. You're all just mesmerized. Is that what it is? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a pair of scissors or whatever you like to hold your paper down, because I don't want to get my fingers too close. So I'm starting it with a low heat. Not that it really matters, but that's where I like to start to heat the heat tool up. And it's going to, at the beginning, it's going to take a little longer as the heat tool gets hotter. And then once it's good and hot, it happens really quickly. So let's just do it. You'll notice when it's cooking, when the powder is cooked, it goes darker, it goes whiter and hard. So we may need to hold it in the light to see. I'm just going to move it a little bit. So nothing looks like it's happening, but here it goes. It's starting to go now. Can we see that? Can you see how the color is getting whiter? You should be able to see it kind of cooking in front of the heat. Now, if you are trying embossing for the first time, I think one of the best things to try with is a metallic, like a silver or a gold, because then it's really obvious because it goes super shiny and it's very easy to see when it has cooked. So here we go. Can you see that color moving? Almost smell it, yeah. Oh, even though I know I sound terribly biased, I do recommend our heat tool. Yes, because it has two settings, the low and the high. The low is really good, especially for more delicate papers like vellum or, mulberry papers or things like that. But cardstock, it doesn't matter as much. But the other thing is, this one has a couple of things that some of them don't have. Like I have an old one that I had before this. In fact, it's so old, my ex-husband bought it for me. How about that? And it doesn't have this plastic tip on it. Okay, so this one has a plastic tip. I can actually touch that and it's not going to burn me. But the other one, if I was to touch that metal part at the end there, I would give myself some sort of nasty burn because it's super, super hot. The other thing is, a couple of little tips about heat tools. We've got this little stand, okay? When you have finished with your heat tool, put it down, but put it on the stand. What this does is it means that your heat tool is not completely flat. Hot air rises, right? Which means that all the hot air that's been trapped in the barrel can actually escape and it prolongs the life of your tool. If it's sat completely flat on the table, then heat could actually get trapped in there and not be able to get out, not be able to escape, and that can actually make your tool last not as long. So, right, just a really old one, yeah. The new ones are really good, and I think they're really reasonably priced. I know, it doesn't look good with just the embossed hearts, Katrina. I know, I like it. Can you see the shiny of the, I don't know if you can see that, but anyway. So anyway, it does look really nice. I'm a big fan of blue and white. Not that anyone's surprised by that. It's one of my favorite combinations, just good old blue and white. Okay, so that's going to be my background. Okay, and then I'm going to do this little piece here. So this time I'm going to use the other heart from the same set, and I wanted to make sure I got these flowers on, of course. So let's use our navy ink. And I'm going to, in fact, I'm just thinking I might put the sentiment on first. Now, I did have a problem with the sentiment this morning in that I did put it on a little bit crooked. So if ever you want to test a sentiment, whether or not it's going to stamp straight, that's where grid paper underneath your work is really, really handy. Because if I put this, what I think it's going to be straight, I can test on my grid paper. That looks straight to me. oops, a little bit of overstamping there. That's not quite straight. Can you see that the T is closer to that line than the H? Therefore, I need to actually, when I stamp with it, I need to sort of twist it so the H is slightly higher. So sometimes if you don't put your stamps on quite straight, which it can be hard to get them on really straight sometimes, then my feeling on that is that you want to do it on grid paper first so you can see how much you need to adjust it. It's only a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm going to re-ink this. I'm going to double check that I don't have any here. And I want this to go into the corner. So I'm going to do it as if I think it's going to be straight. Sorry about my head, guys. And then I'm going to try and move it ever so little just so that H is a little bit higher. That is actually perfect. There we go. That worked really well. All right, so I'm going to make sure that I don't have any edges here. Give it a tap. Looks good. And now that I've got my sentiment there, it helps me place my heart. So I can see, I want the flowers to be on the rectangle. So these ones, this side is going to be off, but that's okay. That's the look I'm going for. Something else when you're stamping, a lot of people do this, and I don't know why. They stamp something and they stamp it and they rock it. I think they think they're going to get a better image. And what happens when you do that is if you do have any ink around the edges, you're for sure going to transfer it. Instead of rocking it, just go straight down and straight up. Hold it for a few seconds to transfer the ink, but don't rock it. Okay, you'll get a better image that way. So there's a lot of basic stamping tips I'm giving tonight. I'm just aware that some people here might not have. I know if you say you're shocked, Ellen, I know that you're not. Are you talking about the blue and white combination? Is that what you're talking about? Because I know that that's facetious. I know you sarcasm is just dripping off those words. That's a good idea. Oh, you know what I should be doing? I'm such a bad demonstrator. I'm not really, but I forgot something. Just means I'm human because everyone forgets something sometimes. I should be using this beneath my work. This is our silicone mat. Perfect for your desk because it is heat resistant and you won't burn anything with this underneath. So that's what I should be using. And I forgot to put it out. I had it out ready and I forgot to use it. All right, so now that I've got this, I want to add some color. And I'm just deciding. On my original, I used Mango Melody. Yeah, I might as well. I think I'll go the same because I do like the yellow with the blue. What do you think? Is that nice? We could use a different color if you wanted. Let's try. So we've got light Mango Melody and dark Mango Melody. Yes, the blue and white. Yeah. pick the girls in my team. They know me too well. Goodness me. So nice to have you here though, girls. All right, so I'm just going to, we have a lot of fun in our team. Very, very grateful to have the most lovely, lovely team of girls. I've been doing this a long time now, but I just feel like the girls that I work with just make it all worthwhile. Not that it isn't worthwhile, it's still worthwhile, but it's just, yeah, it's an amazing thing to me. And we had a games night a couple of weeks ago, a Zoom games night for the girls, and I was having a bit of a bad day, to say the understatement of the century, which I think some of you have heard about. But they stepped in and helped me out and did such an amazing job. And a few of them are here tonight, and I'm just still just amazed at how amazingly well that went, considering everything. So I'm using the color I'm going to use now. This is Soft Succulent, which is one of our new in colors. So I'm using the dark one down the bottom here. I'm using the thin end because these little leaves are quite tiny. I don't want to go outside the lines if I can help it. And let's go to the dark one again. If you haven't used blends markers, they're pretty amazing. They're alcohol markers, so yeah, I just love them because you can use them on just about anything. They work on wood and plastic and glass and vellum and paper and all sorts of things. Yay, that's right. Thank you. Tidying up and taking photos while watching. Good. So you're multitasking. That's awesome. So yeah, this is a pretty simple card, to be honest, but it's got a little bit more technique in it because we've got the embossing and we're using our alcohol markers. I'm using the light and the dark marker to add a bit more interest to the leaves, and those two colors blend together beautifully, which is what they're meant to do. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this all together. We're going to use this is Tombow, or also called multi-purpose, liquid multi-purpose glue. And I love it because you can put something on and then move it into place. You're not stuck with it in one position. You can kind of move it so it's right before it dries. Okay, so there's my background. Now here's my little piece that's going to go over. So you kind of lose some of the hearts, but we know what they are, right? So I'm going to use some dimensionals for this. If you have not liked my Facebook page while you're here, do that. It's pretty awesome to be able to do cards and have people like them and comment on them and share them and all that kind of stuff. And you're very welcome to be part of the fun that we have here if you would like. So I'm going to go with my little adhesive gems again. Where I'll put these. One here. Actually, no. Whoops. Okay. I've got a bit of adhesive where I don't want it to be. I'll have to fix that up, but that's okay. I can do that after. I have got an adhesive remover. Actually, it's coming off. There we go. It's off. And then one here. You know what? I had to put one here earlier because I had a mark here and here. So that's where I had to put the bling or embellishments. Little jewels are fantastic for covering up a multitude of sins if ever you have any. So, no one's perfect. We all have to cover stuff up sometimes. And sometimes that makes the best creations of all. There you go. Two pretty cards like this. All right, I've got one more card for you. And you may have seen this. I did post this one on my desk today. I was halfway through making it. I hadn't put the sentiment on yet at that point. Now I have. I'm not going to make this exact card today. You like this one that you like, or the blue and white? I like them both. I liked the idea of some rainbow hearts. So, I mean, rainbows are awesome. And it kind of, I don't know, this squiggly heart looked to me like it needed to be coloured. So how do we do that on a black background? Well, you know what? We're going back to embossing again. And that's what we're going to be playing around with. I don't need my navy ink anymore, so I'll move that out of the way. And I am going to use my Versamark. And I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me colour in all of these. So I'm going to do a small version of it so that you get the idea. But this one, obviously, I just did multiple ones and coloured them all in. And in this one, I'm just going to use one. So I'm going to use my scribbly heart again. Now, for anyone who's watching and wondering what's coming next, of course, I've got my Facebook Live tomorrow night, as usual. And then Sunday night, I'll do my YouTube Live. But at the beginning of next week, I am going to be doing my next online specialty class. So for anyone who would like to be part of that, it's going to be the Blackberry Beauty online specialty class. Really excited to make some absolutely beautiful projects with you with that gorgeous, gorgeous suite. And the paper is just to die for. So that's going to be coming along next week, and I'll have all the details of how you can register for the class. I'll send out all the pieces to you if you're in Australia, and the cost of it is just to place an order, basically, through my online store or directly with me. But we can talk more about that over the coming days, but I just wanted you guys to know that it's coming up. So all I've done is I've stamped with the Versamark on here, and I'm going to put my white ink over the top, just like we did before on the navy, but now I'm doing it on a black piece. So you can see it's sticking to the paper. Give it a bit of a flick, get rid of any excess. All right, and there is, as you can see, a little bit of overstamping just here, but that's okay. Easy to get rid of that with a brush. Just gonna come in here and get rid of any little excess of powder that's places that I don't want it to be. Okay, that's looking good. All right, so we're going to do the heating thing. The first two are your favorite? Well, everyone has different ones they like, I'm sure. They're all just really different, aren't they? It's a good way of showing you that you can use a stamp set like this for lots of different, there's so many different ways to use it. And if you go onto Pinterest and put in the name of the stamp set, Strong of Heart Stampin' Up cards, you will get so many different types of cards that people have made with this set. Let's get this cooked. Now, as I'm going through, if anyone has any questions, just let me know. Okay, just type them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them before we finish the session. You like this one? Well, embossing is just a fun technique as far as I'm concerned. Now you should be able to see that is shiny and hard, and you can actually run your, it's warm, but you can run your fingers over it pretty much straight away and it's ready to go. Look at my fingers, got stuff everywhere. Ugh. Oh well. So this is how easy this is to do. We're going to use our blends markers. Okay, and I've picked a few colors out that are going to give me this same effect that I've got here. Okay, doesn't matter where we start. I'm going to start down the bottom, but it actually doesn't matter. And I'm just going to color my marker straight over my white. You can see it's very forgiving. You don't need to be very careful with it. Now I've got a couple of different, this is dark pale papaya. And then I've also got light pumpkin pie. I think I ended up using pumpkin pie is a little bit darker. This one's a little bit light. So I think I'll go up to the pumpkin pie. And I was going to use the darker pumpkin pie. Yeah, that's better. Except it's the end of it was gone. I have to get a new one of those. Right, then I've also got fresh, now this is dark Highland Heather and this is fresh freesia. Yeah, so this one is lighter. The fresh freesia is lighter. So what I'm doing as I do this is I'm kind of going over the last one a little bit so they kind of blend a little bit together, but they won't blend much on the embossed surface. So I'm trying to build up to a darker and darker color. And then we've got our light, we've got Magenta Madness, which is the darkest pink on here. And I'm going to go over that edge a little bit. And you can always go back and add more color if you decide you want, you know, if something's not dark enough or whatever. But because blends markers will work on any surface, they work really, really well on your white embossing. And this is the thing, I guess, that if you wanted to color on a dark colored cardstock, which is normally a very difficult thing to do, this is a way to do it. Because you can color over the, so I'm just going to get those colors to blend together a little bit. Not that one, this one. Can you see how the colors are kind of starting to blend a bit more? There we go, just like that. All right, so then if I wanted to put a sentiment on, I could do it in the white, would probably look really, really good. I could color that if I wanted to, but here I just used the white because it stood out more against the background. I do like this. To me looks like chalkboard. I love the chalkboard look. I just think it's such a nice effect. Really, really lovely. That's something I do fairly often. I like chalkboard looks. I'd love to learn how to do, you know, people who are really clever at drawing on chalkboards and do really beautiful effects on a chalkboard, like, you know, you see them sometimes in menus at a cafe or something like that in the chalkboard, and I just think that looks really cool. I'm going to put this together and I'll add my sentiment later. Yeah, they're a little bit different tonight. I know it's nice to do something different. So of course, the reason we're here tonight is because we are trying to get everyone talking about and thinking about heart health. Another thing you can do, and this is a really important thing you can do, and I suggest this is not a maybe you will. This is, I really want everyone to do it. If you are feeling unwell, or you think that you might have any kind of heart issue, or next time you go for your checkup, make sure that they're checking. They would normally take your blood pressure, and they'll also check, you know, maybe your heart rate and all those kinds of things. But if there's any issues at all, or if you have any concerns that this could be something that's affecting you, definitely go and see your doctor. It's so important. You know, we want all of us to be around as long as we can. You know, keeping on stamping. I mean, stamping is a great stress relief, which is fantastic. But whatever it is you want to do with your family and the people that you love, you want to be around as long as you can. And I think, yeah, it's like you said, Cindy, early intervention is so important. So if you have any concerns, or you're worried at all, if you're worried about even things like, you know, you get out of breath when you walk up the stairs, or, you know, whatever. I mean, we've all been there, but that's, you know, not necessarily a heart problem. That's also a laziness problem in my case. But you know, there are just so many things that we can do to improve our health. And if we should take, you know, we have this wonderful, wonderful free healthcare here in Australia that we need to take advantage of. So that's pretty much it from me tonight. I hope that you've enjoyed this. This is just something I wanted to do, and it was just a nice way to get everybody together, both team and customers, all together here at once. And it's really lovely to be with you. And I hope, let me grab them all. I hope you've enjoyed watching some different ideas with this stamp set. So let me grab a couple out there. There you go. There's our cards from tonight. And I'm going to switch back to me because I can do that. Look at this. Okay, so how cool is that? I love that I can press a button and go between those two views, and I think it's, yeah, I think it's an awesome thing to be able to do. All right, so I hope everyone is well. Have a great weekend if I don't see you. Otherwise, some of you, I'll probably see you tomorrow night on my Facebook Live at 7:30. Thank you, and ciao for now. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye, everyone.